glancing over my records of the late last century, I am faced by the events of a certain bitter winter. A murder in a carriage as it sped through dense London fog in the dead of night. Though the victim and the perpetrator were the only ones inside, there were multiple witnesses to the crime itself. However, none could have imagined at the time that such a seemingly obvious case as this would end in such a horrendous manner. My friend, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, once said of the incident, "I believe that perhaps that case was indeed the prelude. The beginning of a long concerto that impressive Japanese student and I were to play together."
Foreboding.
Amazing. Is this really just a railway station?
Railway station or not, I've never seen such an enormous building before.
And look at all the steam locomotives. This country is incredible.
I feel like I'm dreaming.
So this is the capital of Great Britain.
So, where to?
Oh, hello.
Climb aboard. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
In that case, the Supreme Court in Whitehall, if you wouldn't mind.
My pleasure.
My immersion is being broken. London is nowhere near this nice.
Visiting students from abroad, eh?
Yes.
Thought so. Well then, I hope you enjoy your stay. And welcome to the centre of the world, Great Britain's mighty capital, London.
London's a terrible place. You can't fool me. What the fuck is this? I mean, we've been known to over-design some things in the years, but what the fuck is this? What an incredible place. It's so imposing. It's almost suffocating. Yeah, it looks like it's where the fucking final boss of the JRPG is gonna be. There are some stone buildings like this in Japan now, of course, but they've only been built in a few short decades since we opened our borders to the outside world. An authentic example like this has quite a different impact, wouldn't you say? A far cry. Hold on, am I recording? Yes, okay, just double checking. A far cry from the wood and paper most of our buildings are constructed from. Fucking idiots making their buildings out of paper. Pfft. It's certainly unfamiliar. But I think there's more to the differences than just construction materials. What is this place again? This is the Lord Chief Justice's office, Naruhodo-san, in the Supreme Court of Great Britain. The Lord Chief Justice. Metal Gear. We had instructions to report here at this time. If circumstances were different, we were supposed to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had arrived from Japan. But Kazuma can't. No. So instead, we are here in a different capacity, as envoys to report the news of Kazuma-sama's death. Yes. And having delivered his or her message, an envoy's duty is done. So we'd have to return to Japan. So what was the point of coming here, then, you know? If we want to remain here in Great Britain, I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the study tour. Yes, which means you need the requisite must we go through this? Which is what I've been studying for. Here in Great Britain, it is the Lord Chief Justice who appoints lawyers. So that's the second reason why we're here, to have you officially recognized as a lawyer. It's the only time that we'll be able to remain here in London. I hope I'm up to scratch. Ah, good morning. Sorry for keeping you. Of course. Oh. I trust you aren't too exhausted after your long journey from Japan? Bro, sick fucking hair. Oh my god. It seems I'm 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds late. My apologies. Oh no, don't mention it. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing much to do. Shut your fucking mouth, Rhea. Shut the fuck up. How fortunate. So, introductions. I am Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of the British Empire. And I feel like a little mouse under an elephant's foot. Come on, Mr. Naruhodo, don't be a mouse. It's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Well, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London. Oh, you got some fucking doves back there, too? The capital of our glorious British Empire. Ah, yes, thank you. Converse? So, what are your impressions of our capital so far? How do you like London? Oh, well, help. I've been so nervous since I got here that I can't remember a single thing about the city. It's simply splendid, isn't it? Oh. We had a wonderful view of some of London's streets from the carriage on the way here from the station. Everything is so impressive and grand. I must say I'm almost lost for words. I'm glad to hear you like it. The city boasts tramways, piped water and gas, even cables supplying electricity. We spearhead every revolutionary new technology in the world. Every visitor to London is astounded. I'm having some trouble here, guys. This is really not connecting with my view of reality. Oh, yes, astounded is the word. Thanks for saving me there. And everyone seems so jolly and full. Now I know you're fucking with me. Yes. There's much excitement about the upcoming Great Exhibition we'll be hosting here in London. Great Exhibition? Cultural and technological achievements from around the globe are to be exhibited here in our great city. It will be the greatest spectacle of its kind in history, and will make Paris's World Fair look like a toy shop. Gosh, I can hardly imagine how magnificent it's going to be. Great Britain's capital city is nothing but magnificent. London is the center of the modern world, even if you do say so yourself. The sun will never set on our great empire. Perhaps it is fate that in these progressive times we welcome visitors from the land of the rising sun. Lord Chief Justice, I think you were expecting a student of law for this study tour, weren't you? Absolutely. Mr. Kazuma Asogi, if my memory serves. That's right. The British government has already been telegraphed a full report on this situation. I understand the young man lost his life aboard the steamship bound for our shores. That's amazing. The news reached him even before we'd arrived. My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours. Oh, thank you. And you're honored at this appointment specifically to inform me of the news? Yes. We are here in the capacity of envoys from Japan to report the sad news in person. Then tell me you Japanese are... They tell me you Japanese are people of protocol and courtesy, and I see that's true. And it is with some regret that I must inform you that the death of the young lawyer means this study tour arrangement can no longer proceed. If you would just hear us out, Lord Strongheart. What do you have to say, madam? It's about the study tour. Mr. Naruhodo here would like to make a proposal. Would he now? Well, Mr. Naruhodo, this is it then, the moment of truth. The thing is, Lord Justice, Lord Strongheart, I was wondering if perhaps you would consider allowing the study tour to go ahead. Don't misunderstand me, Britain would ideally like to see the tour go ahead. But without a lawyer from your country, there's nothing to be done. Well, in that case, what if there was someone else, another lawyer from Japan? Is there something I don't know? Only a single lawyer was invited to Great Britain from your country, and that was Mr. Asogi. At least that is what I've been led to understand. Well, the thing is, this really isn't going well. I just can't seem to find the right words. Mr. Naruhodo! I could ruin things from here if I'm not careful. What am I going to say? If there is someone else from Japan, who could be described as a lawyer, it's me. It's me. I can do it. Is that so? I mean, I don't actually have any qualification. Don't tell him that, you fucking idiot! No qualifications, you say, and yet you still claim to be a lawyer. I have acted as a lawyer in court before, only once, as it happens. And I had Cosmo to help me, and I was accused, but I've been spending every spare minute on the journey here to Great Britain studying. I've learned all British law and court proceedings while I was on board the SS Burya. The voyage from Japan is some 50 days, I believe, not what you might call a full education. To become a qualified lawyer in Britain, not only do you need a university degree in law, you must also complete several years of training. I realize it's far too short a period of time, but I can't just go back to Japan. Kazuma, Mr. Asogi's journey had only just begun. Coming here on the study tour was all he thought about. I have to carry on and do everything he planned to do. I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion of myself, but I would do anything to prove that I have what it takes. Any test you could set me. Just one chance, that's all I'm asking for. Please. 31 seconds. Sorry? Your opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo, it was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not too protracted. A perfectly judged appeal, I would say. Which is a skill that would stand you in good stead as a lawyer. Oh, thanks. So, you're willing to put those words to trial, are you? Well, I'm all for entertainment. Huh? But let me ask you one thing first, sir. Yes? You say you intend to do everything Mr. Asogi planned to do. Are you firmly set on that path? Well, yes, that's my intention. I see. Am I imagining things, or did his expression just alter a fraction there all of a sudden? Very well. You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. A test to become a specially certified lawyer. Whether you pass or fail is entirely down to you. Really? Let's go. So, what form will the test take? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, what do you consider the role of a lawyer to be? Well, defending people, of course. Well said. So, let's have you defend someone. Huh? Your timing is perfect, in fact. There's an apt trial about to begin later today. No advocate has been appointed for the defense yet, so this will be welcome news. Today? Straight away? If you manage to secure a verdict of not guilty, you'll have passed my test. What could be simpler? How do I get myself into these situations? Well, could I ask what sort of trial it is, Lord Strongheart? Yes, good question. I remember. It's a murder trial. A murder? An extremely simple case, I understand. You really can't lose. That's easy to say, but I should mention just in case. If the defendant is found guilty, he will of course be sentenced to capital punishment. Capital punishment? He'll be put to death? Here in Great Britain, murderers are sent to the gallows without exception. Presumably you read that much in your short C-based introduction to British law. Law? We can't possibly agree to such a test. We would be toying with a man's life. I am the Lord Chief Justice, and I've decided it's acceptable. But you can't do that, can you? He's the Lord Chief of Justice. All justice is his. There's no need to overcomplicate this. All you have to do is ensure that you don't lose. So the defendant may live or die depending on how well I perform in court. If I lose, he'll be hanged. Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to me claiming to be a lawyer. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say you intend to see through the will of your compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen. He's testing my resolve. What's the matter? You've fallen silent. I'm sorry, but time is pressing. The trial begins shortly. I need an answer from you now. What's it to be? What do I say? Yeah, of course, you fucking... this guy. Alright then, if I have to give you a decision now, my answer is... oh, shut the fuck. Just do it. 15 seconds. Your decision-making needs work if you want to be a lawyer. That was too slow. So, it's as I suspected, is it? Sorry. You have noble intentions, but lack the resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled. Thank you for stopping by. Go and acquire your ticket for passage back to the east tomorrow. This conversation is over. Yes, Lord Strongheart. Thank you for offering me a chance. Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry, Mrs. Sato, but what could I do? It's alright, I understand. You do? It's not an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. But resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it. What are you trying to say, madam? I think what Misato means is that no matter how badly I'd like to be recognized as a lawyer and stay in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chance at a trial so trivially would be utterly unforgivable, and I feel exactly the same way. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. A lawyer may fight for his clients in court day after day, but for each of those clients, the particular day they have to stand in dock may be the only chance they have to fight to prove their innocence. No, I was wrong. I'm not qualified to do that job yet. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time, Lord Chief Justice. Wait, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, was there something else? It's approximately 12 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time. But I just said that. I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for him. What? At this point, he can't hope to find someone to represent him. The trial will begin without a defense. And if that happens, there's only one possible outcome. He will receive the most severe sentence the judge can pass down. But that's awful! But that is the truth. Why does it have to be like this? Please don't expect an answer to every question. The cold, hard truth of the matter is that there is only one person now with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you. I'm really his only hope. So, what do you say now, madam? Me? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? You said it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances, and I agree. But in my estimation, it is purely and simply a matter of resolve. Oh. Our time is up here. I have a meeting to attend. I must leave in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So, venture into our great city and enjoy yourselves. He's gone. Whisked away by the pigeons. The Old Bailey. If we're going to do this, Mr. Naruhodo, we must leave at once. Let's go, lads. Oh, thank goodness we're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were going to rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you. It's one of my favorite lines from Sherlock Holmes stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die, and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before the trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. So this is the Old Bailey. Even this room for defendants is to wait in is grand. Yeah, I love how we have the scales on this end table over here. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember from the Supreme Court in Japan. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever is about to be sentenced. It feels like only yesterday that I was about to be crushed. Yes, whoever the man you're to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at this moment. Top of the morning to you, madam, sir. Oh my god. What are you doing following me here? Things are fair desperate, are they? Sorry? Would you look at those expressionless faces from the east? Yes, we're from Japan. Ah, Japan is it right? Say no more. So, how much do you need? No, we're just here because... No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself, and so I have. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name, and all while in a strange, faraway land. Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet, no. Tis grand, tis grand. Let me start by giving you 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now. 1,000 guineas? Please, Miss Sato, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What? 'Tis nothing to me at all. I'd like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see. I have enough wealth to buy the city of London 2 or 3 times over. Could that much rain even fall in one day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. Ah! That hit me in the eye. Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving it to you as no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me. Oh? To be honest, 'tis a little embarrassing, but the trial's about to begin, you see. Is for me good self here, I'll be in the dock. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, well, the thing is, don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me, nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial is going to start without me having any kind of representation at all. Ah, so it was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the yes? Blister and blazes, do yous? Do yous not know who I am? Me, one of London's biggest names. No, sorry. We've only just arrived in the city about 20 minutes ago. I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park, there's the centre of London, is another beautiful park. Sorry, a park? What? 'Tis called Gilded Park, full of blossoming flowers in the spring and singing birds and whatnot. I donated it to the city, so I did. An entire park? A city of smiles, that's my vision of London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its queer old people. That's amazing, I mean, really extraordinary. Ah, but now they've the gall to say I'm good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilded. What is the matter with the London police, I ask you? Alright, don't pass out. Mr. Naruhodo. Perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves while the gentleman catches his breath. Yes, good idea. Mr. Gilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students on a study tour from Japan, you see. So if you don't have a lawyer for the trial today, and you'd be here. What was I saying after saying, you daft Egypt? I've given you 1,000 guineas to stand up there next to me, haven't I? Well, yes, I wasn't really offering to just stand up there next to you. I think I see what's going on here. Sorry, I know what you're thinking. 'Tis chancer of a fella claims to have more money than the Queen. But if that's true, why the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Because he did. That's the only explanation. Well, yeah, kind of. Yes, exactly. What now? Well, like you said, if you have all that money but you don't have anyone to represent you, there's no other logical conclusion that you're guilty of the charges. Well, you call a spade in the East, so you do. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any offense. I still can't express myself very well in English, you see. And I'm not sure what's acceptable to say and what isn't, so... Is that so? Because you sounded fluent enough that you were telling me what a blackguard I must be. I'm terribly sorry. Ah! I can't say that I blame you for thinking it, fella. It is a little strange, to be honest. Why don't you have a lawyer, I mean? That would be the fault of the Reaper. Sorry? Did you say Reaper? Aye, the Grim Reaper at the Bailey, Lord Barak van Zeeks. He's the prosecutor. The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper? When Van Zeek stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, he's never lost a single trial. What? So it's reached the desperate situation where there's no one willing to stand to defense against the fella at all. You could say he's a living legend of the Old Bailey. Goodness, Lord Baron von Zykes, Barak von Zykes. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then. Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madam. It's cursed. Cursed? What on earth? The defendant is summoned and his counsel. Please make your way into the courtroom. The trial is about to begin. His counsel, that would be me. Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fella, don't let me down. But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. Until you showed your face here. I'd made up my mind, so I had. Sorry. I'd decided I'd have to defend myself in there. Oh, how would that have worked? But then you made an appearance. A student of law, wouldn't you know? 'Tis no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. I literally know nothing about the case or this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him now. Mr. Naruhodo, the man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in the courtroom armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes, something that Cosmo would have never allowed to happen. Counsel for the defense, what are you doing? If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand. I'll be right there. It's happening then. My first trial in a British court. I hope you're watching over me, Cosmo, because I have no idea how I'm going to manage this. For the third time in 2 months, I have no idea what I will do. Ah, yes, of course. Oh, yeah, look at these people. One of them is just a maid? So this is the highest court in Great Britain, the Old Bailey. The centuries of the history of the place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, what? Your eyes look really ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I can't help it. Ah, hello. Oh, yeah. Now that's a judge if ever I've seen one. In the name of her... No. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. Dracula himself. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch the next poor victim to the underworld. Counsel for the defense, you appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready, and I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes please me. Nipponese. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. Are you being racist? To be fair, in England? Racism? Never. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. Ugh, a cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tip of my toes. Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord. You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? As I always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young, even if the fella is a student from a little island off the far east. It is not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance. I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded. What a fine gentleman London has. Did you hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Mother, please may we go and play in Gilded Park. It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. It's definitely welcome news, and he certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded, and most laudable statements. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that 6 members of the public... Oh, this is the jury, I see. I thought she looked at a place. Are you ready to proceed? Yes, my lord. If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready. At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Any criminals here will be wishing they never set eyes on me. Okay. My man's mustache is a magnet. I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Mr. Naruhodo, these people are the jury. Yes, there's something we don't have that's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right, I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinion of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give their verdict? What does that mean? Like, they answer if they think he did it or not. That I don't know, but I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Yes, I see we're well-versed in English law. Prosecutor von Zeeks, my lord. It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounced your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance with which the court should be aware? I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years? Why did he choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason. Sorry, thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the great streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. That seems fairly to be the case. Here is the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, Counsel. I shall accept that and the photographs as evidence. Wonderful. And one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. And these are... Good lord! Is that blood, Counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? Mr. McGilded's gloves had blood on them? Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. How did I get into this and backed into a corner before I've even started? Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2. Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded. Well, rather damning circumstances, to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing, Mr. McGilded. To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening, but whenever I'm in a carriage, I take him with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? 'Tis the notion of the carriage, my lord. Little in, so it is, when I opened my eyes again. 'Twas a desperate sight before me, the body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in my life. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood on the gloves then after the man had been killed. Unfortunately, that statement of the driver is only the beginning. There's more? There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Order! Order! When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage, and there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. Thank you, Counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. Oh my god. Nerd. Witnesses, your name and occupations. My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First. Dude, okay. I make hats for gents. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witnessed the aforementioned incident. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir, that's right, sir. Very well, then, let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. Alright, let's go. It was last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife into his guts. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, I did, couldn't help it. Pussy. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped the bus, and then I saw it too. Alright, well, we haven't got a lot for there, have we? Unambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Yes, counsel? Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of a moving carriage. He's about to eat shit, dude. How quaint. I'd read that civilizations in the eastern island nations were a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you ever traveled in an omnibus? Well, no. We only arrived this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves the actual scene of the crime, that is. Wheel it in, boys! What do you mean? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much. Yes. The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today in this very building. Here? What? The entire carriage? Bailiff! Bring forth the stricken omnibus. Yep. That's an omnibus, alright. So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. Sorry, I'm reading the advertisements. Job masters. Okay. I can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. 4 passengers seated inside the enclosed cabin and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best view of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. And I should point out to our foreign guests that there is a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. So I'm guessing one of them just saw an arm, didn't actually see his hand or, like, his face or anything, you know? A skylight? Oh. The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on the omnibus. That is how they came to witness the grim incident, through the skylight. Ugh, that makes perfect sense. Well, counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the room. Shall we cross-examine the crime scene now, lads? There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. Very well, I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. I can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence. Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination. You are absolutely correct. Pray don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of British courts' cross-examination rights. Alright, my first cross-examination. Focus, Ryunosuke. Focus. Alright, before we do it, like, open up, hold on. Open up that there. Let's give this bad boy an examination. So what we got? Well, let's open the door and go inside. Ugh, the scene of a murder. It's horrible. Yep, well those seats were facing towards the front over there, so that means McGinnis would have been in the opposite seat, so they probably did only see his arm. McGinnis! Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I think I'm racist. Jesus Christ. McGinnis? McGilded. That blood... That's blood that's soaked into the seat, the victims, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab someone in full view of the other passengers, I wonder? Well, it was after dark, and there was a lamp in here. Was a lamp on in here, so the culprit couldn't see anything outside the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like a planned attack. Clicked out of the window. Let's see. Oh, no, just gonna leave, isn't it? What we got here? Ah, that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exhibition. The Crystal Tower. It's under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event. Alright, we're making good progress, I'd say. The seat has a handle, it seems. Ooh! This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubs, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep things, it seems. There doesn't seem to be any space for the passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. Well, I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway. I guess we're good. Ah, that's a poster from the Great Exhibition that's due to start... Oh, it's just the same thing. Okay, never mind. Right, gaze upwards. It's quite a large skylight, isn't it? Yes, quite large enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck. And there doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description, so I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabin, at least. Nothing on the floor. Alright, I guess we're good in here. Have you seen enough? Let's step back outside. Alright. Upstairs time. You can certainly see inside the carriage through this opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin, so I'm sure the witnesses would have been able to see quite clearly. That's not good for us. Nope, I didn't actually click on anything. So, are we good? Oh, Phoenix Wright Omnibus! How about that? Anything? No? Is that it? You got nothing else? Not up here either? Is this bench different, or is this just the skylight? Okay. So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them. They would have to pay money to do this? Brr, can't imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around the city in freezing cold as a punishment? Perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late. Is this anything different? Nay. Alright, anything underneath? Can't get underneath. Alright, I guess we're done here. Let's see. So we're gonna have to do some pressing on this one. I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Yes, sir, that's quite right, sir. Ever so cold, sir. It was freezing. Okay. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time, is that correct? Yes, that's right, sir. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though, no. Okay. And there were no other passengers when the incident took place? No one alighted, for example? You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that. No, none. So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then. I have to say the boss insisting on it running, he does. Every evening, that last bus of the day. Mm-hmm. But I do sometimes. Do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, sorry to say. You never know. What do you mean by that? Well, with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spent that much at the pub on the way home just trying to warm up again. The victim and the man accused were sat next to each other. Oh, they were sat... Oh, never mind, I guess.
Hold it!
And you saw them through the skylight of the roof of the carriage. That's right. When you sit up on the top deck, the window's right at your feet. There was a lamp on inside, so I had a pretty good view. You still can't see his face. The two of them were wearing hats, so I couldn't exactly make out their faces, but there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. How can you be so sure? Well, how can I put it politely? McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anybody else. Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. I'm guessing this dude was hiding under the seat. There is no room for doubt here. Ugh, I really wish there was. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts.
Hold it!
You actually saw the exact moment it happened. Didn't I already testify to that? Or are fair dinkum working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days? Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I've really got his back up. My lord? Juror number 3, what's the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. They're always up to something or other, and they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me. Jesus fucking Christ. There's no point wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter anyway. That is precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it is my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. Guys, it doesn't need to be this way. This is absurd. What's happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes, it seems that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... What do you think it means? Let's do our best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Very well. The court acknowledges the change to the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue your cross-examination. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it.
Hold it!
He stabbed him, you say, and you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fella that was stabbed. I've been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylight. It was sticking right out from his belly, that huge nut. So you didn't see him get stabbed. A grim sight indeed. That didn't help me at all. The jury looked like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious that Mr. McGild is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicion. Mr. First. Yes, sir. Is this the knife? Is this the knife you saw? Oh, good grief! Yes, that's it, sir. The very one. Is that Yes, Counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart. We get it. That is a blade of considerable size, Counsel. It is, and furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. The letter M, which seems oddly familiar. Ugh. Please, no. Well, for Magnus, perhaps, or McGilded, or Mason? It seems this particular big name in London made a magnificent mistake. But there's M's everywhere. Like yes. Like in Mason. This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belonged to the accused. Ugh. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, Counsel. Hold on and crack that bad. Yep. You're gonna do your business, but let me have a gander. This could also be a W. This part is the sheath, isn't it? Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, sorry, yes, I just don't really like blades. Oh, those don't seem like the words of a man with a large katana slung from his waist. That's not a blade, that's Kazuma's soul. Fair enough. Anyway, there's no sense in delaying it. Let's see what the blade looks like. Can't find anything out of place. Okay, I guess I'll look at that part. Ugh, that looks a lot like blood. It surely is blood, the victim's. Ugh. An Englishman's blood looks a lot like a Japanese man's blood. Funny that. Did you think it wouldn't? Sorry, it's just that we've only just arrived here. I'm finding it a little hard to adjust. Yes, I do understand. Okay. Nothing else. An ornate letter M, undeniably Mr. Magnus McGilded's initial. I am skeptical for several reasons. And it's beautifully gilded, too. It must be very valuable, I should think. Ah, what is it? Look at this M. If you turn it upside down, it becomes a W. This could change everything. A W. Yes, this is one of those, you know, turnabout cases. I'm sure of it. I'm afraid I don't know it all. But I'm sure is that this is an M. Oh. Well, that idea was quickly squashed. Look, that could still be a W, alright? I'm not on board just yet. Anything inside? Wait, that doesn't look like it goes very deep. Can't examine it, though. It doesn't look like that goes super deep, but I can't examine it, so I guess that's just what we're going to be going with here. Anything at the bottom? Nope. Alright, this has illuminated me 0%. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's look at the gloves, too. Blood. This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No. By the way, is Mr. McGilded right-handed? Yes, I believe so. Oh, the history isn't there, but, you know. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. Yeah. Alright, you never know. Okay, carry on. Oh, wait, no, hold on. Actually, let me gander at the photo now that I've looked at the other stuff. Nope. Okay. This looks a little like something, but I guess it could just be light reflecting. My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption. Ah, juror number 2, go on. Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman's word should be sacrosanct. However, those of us in service must know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what? Dispose of the rubbish. Guys. No. I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion. Granny, don't let us down. Not again. That's 4 out of 6 jury members. We've proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. We mustn't give up hope. We'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. Alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just have to keep calm and listen to the statements again. Okay, we can press on this. This is all we got left. What exactly did you say? Oh, well, that would be the passengers. Yeah, collapsed on the floor. No, that's not true. And by passenger, obviously, you were referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the bricklayer-maker. Yes, and the other passenger that had the knife in his hand like this. By the other passenger, obviously, you were referring to the accused. And then he plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. So, that's a bit of a weird angle to do that from, but also neither of them were on the floor? My lord, I wish to speak. Yes, Juror 5. Do I take it that you too? As the master of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of a murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse has bolted, as they say. No, please. Gee up now, Silver Blaze. The site is in finish. Site is in finish? The site is in finish. Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir. This is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man. Madam Juror number 6. Yes, dear, what can I do for you? You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand. Oh, yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning? Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just where I live. Gilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on the Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have it in him to take another man's life. He is always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that surely wouldn't stab someone. Mother, may we go to Gilded Park Library later and borrow some more books? How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know? What kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of man he is? The philanthropist Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls. What? Stone the crows! McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak. I've never heard any mention of that before. Your faculties have deserted you, I'm sure, Matt. Your faculties haven't deserted you, Jesus Christ. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? You're not saying that. The victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for all debts. Good gracious! The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house, he had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him, his life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly, Mr. Sato. You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded, but where is the evidence to support your claim? I caught a glimpse of a sword. Let's have a duel. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law.
Aha, there it is. Lord Van Zyke's hollowed chalice.
How can this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in an unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East would show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. As a judicial assistant to the defense, I'm simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh. This doesn't help that McGilded earlier said he'd never seen the man before, either. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time.
A marvelous toast, Counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence.
I gotta crack that bad boy open. Get me in there. Ah, yes, 20 guineas. I gotta have a gander. So what we got here? This is not embroidered. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets. Oh dear, do you really think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you we will not find Sholmes inside. Well, let's see what we do find. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Sorry, I'm sipping. One moment. Alright, I'm energized and ready to defend. What is it? Look at this. Do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean so? Hold on, we got a conflict of interests, Your Honor. Mr. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying. Oh, yes, of course, the banker. He borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. Yes, he has good reason to lie about McGilded. I'm just guessing that this isn't going to do anything if I click there. No, okay. Well, we got what we came for there. And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense.
Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accused.
And it's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel. Still, maybe it's all for the best.
Wait a minute.
I don't stand for nonsense.
That was it. The last juror's decision. According to this encyclopedia of British law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. The final verdict. Oh. There's a footnote, though. A footnote. However, the defense... All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement of this case. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision.
According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict.
Object! Object! Mr. Sato, just tell me one thing. Yes? You were in the middle of saying something. The footnote. However, the defense. What did it say? Oh, yes, of course. When all members... Yeah, The defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. Summation? Examination? A summation examination? From which century has that tome you have there been resurrected? Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't give such an antiquated procedure a notion. It's a relic long forgotten and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh. What even is it, Masato? The so-called summation examination. Oh, I'll read about it. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails? Huh, typical Nipponese. Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that the procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what, exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decision. And it says here that, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed.
Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision, but that procedure has become something of a formality with no practical benefit, so it rather fell out of use.
I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Well, good thing I've got no self-respect. I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? A summation examination. Yeah, of course we do, you fucking clown. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this case.
The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination.
This is madness.
Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready?
Well, I'm not, there was no mention of this in the letter I received, see, so,
All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they reached their final decision.
On what grounds?
You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believed him to be guilty.
Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot. This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before.
I don't really hold with all this justifying lark.
That seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years. Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for.
So be it then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of the serious crime.
There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory. It seems 4 passengers, with fares totaling 20 pence.
He stuck the chap right next to him, just like this. Brazen, I must say, absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collected all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. The scoundrel stabbing the poor man on the floor. It beggars belief.
I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh, I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, then we can contradict the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see. So it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose. Find the contradictions and pit the jurors against one another. Alright. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off.
Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal.
Yes, my lord. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. Stuck the knife just like him. Absolutely brazen. So I can press on all of them. But, you know, just give him a once-over again. Stabbing the poor man on the floor. It bears... Whoa, hold on there, brother.
Hold it!
He wasn't on the floor. I think you should stop needing that wheedle around.
You heard what the good coachman said before, didn't you? That headless man stabbed the poor fellow just like this.
Yes, that's what he said. You're right.
Gilded Park is such a lovely place, too. I've always enjoyed resting my legs there while I get on with my knitting. And I had the thought that anyone who donated such a delightful place must be a fine fellow indeed. I suppose I was wrong. Whoever would have thought he was a miserable murderer, moneylender, with not a scrap of remorse?
Oh, help. She's sure as hell not... She sure as sure can be that he's guilty now. The old lady certainly seems to know her mind, doesn't she? So we just need to find... How did you know? Well, I took the liberty of doing some research in case you want to find yourself such as... Wait, shall I remind you what I found? This is rather long, I'm afraid. Go ahead. None of those were contradictory. Listen to this. During the summation examination, you will hear the assertions of the 6 members. In this situation, the counsel for defense should use R and pit with impunity. Having done so, you will be able to compare the chosen assertion with those of the other jurors. Select the corresponding button to listen to the other jurors' assertions again. Note that you cannot choose the assertion of the juror you initially selected, nor can you choose assertions of jurors who have changed their leaning to not guilty already. Once you've compared the various jurors' assertions, work out which 2 contradict each other, and then put them with each other. I see. The first step is to listen very carefully. Then I'm sure you'll start to see which ones might not agree with each other. Alright. That's the spirit. Yeah, we got this. Let's go. So, Oh, wait, no, they are these two. Pit. These two. Because they are saying they stuck each other differently.
Objection!
Those two statements are completely contradictory. What? Counsel, explain, post haste.
Oh, dearie me. I was just knitting a jumper for my other half. What's all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you?
We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror member 3.
What? Can't you see I'm busy here?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it?
Want to test me, do ya? Like this, stuck the fella next to him without even getting up, just like the prim banker said.
Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony, quite true. Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, is that me? Is it? What can I do for you?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim?
Oh, well, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now don't move! Take a look at those two jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up, and he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor.
Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions.
What?
Bless my stitches, what a muddle.
What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth.
Oh. But why? Why the dickens would they lie?
I don't know that yet, but what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in good conscience?
Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies.
We did it, team.
The scales. I don't believe it.
Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic. Jesus Christ, dude. If I could use magic, do you think I'd be putting myself through this? Answer me this, Dark Jinx. Huh? Me? What exactly is the problem? What if the two witnesses have slightly different recollections of events? What of it? Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he sat next to him on the omnibus, and this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor and the Shylock stabbed him again, and this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, then? Who are you calling a dandy? Why, I should take this knife to you.
Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you.
Ugh, they're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? It's out of the question. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you Dark Jinx? Come on, out with it. What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments. If that's out of the question, show me some proof. I will show you my proof. Some irrefutable evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you proof. It's out of the question, because have a gander at this photo. This clear piece of evidence, Mr. Foreman. Do you know what they say about me, young man? They say I've got no powers of persuasion. Oh, I see. I'm sorry to hear that. What? But they couldn't have stabbed him like that if he's on the floor. If he's not on the floor. Wait. How is it not this? Oh, I guess I'll show by single stab. Yes, okay. See, I've got the right idea. I'm going at it from the wrong angle. I'm like, he couldn't have stabbed him while he's on the floor because he wasn't on the fucking floor. So obviously he didn't get stabbed twice. This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen only once. He also wasn't on the floor, so clearly he didn't stab him while he was sitting and then stab him again while he's on the floor. I'm angry, okay? Only once. It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen 2 different times.
Yeah. Alright, I concede defeat.
We did it, team. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. You did it. If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more. Actually, there is something else that's bothering me at a couple of their assertions. That's where you must strike next. Exactly. Okay.
Well, the scales of judgment have shifted, but they are still way heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again.
Alright. So, we don't want any of these. The only logical conclusion, you can trust the guild. Well, no, I don't want you. I gotta just push back on the fucking keyboard. No. No, not right now, thank you. Yes, thank you. I should just do this from the pit screen, actually, probably. So, what we got? I trust the driver, he has an excellent memory. It seems 4 passengers with fair totaling, There was no one else in the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. Alright, I guess we gotta press on someone, because none of those obviously contradict each other to me. Certainly, the testimonies we've heard suggest the victim and McGilded were alone in the carriage. Precisely my point. But, could there have been some other explanation, something we haven't considered yet? Such as? Well, perhaps we could work out together now. Now listen here. Maybe you don't know how things work around here because you're from foreign climes. But we're here to form our opinions as individuals, and I have. Oh dear, he doesn't appear to be in the mood. No, yeah, I trust the driver. But does his ability to recall his takings from that night really tell us how trustworthy he is? I manage all Lordship's cash affairs, so I'm very particular when it comes to accounts. I see. A single penny can mean the difference between life and death after all, can't it? That's a saying in your country. My point is, a man who minds his figures is a man you can trust. Those of us in service would swear to that, sir. So if the good driver says that he saw Mr. McGilded in the act, I don't doubt him. The only task left to do is disposing of the rubbish. Now wait a minute. One of the other jurors thinks something about money, I think. Now listen, oh, wait, we're gonna go with the money? Okay. No, wait, pit. Nope, I started on the wrong one. Fair's fair, we haven't raised our pences. Oh, fuck, wait, we haven't raised our prices above 4 pence. That's not 20, so it's wrong.
Objection!
Those 2 statements contradict each other.
They do. Explain yourself, counsel.
Me? Oh dear, what have I said? I swear on Silver Blazer's name and name, I haven't the first idea what you're talking about. According to the group testimony we heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus in night in question, and according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Quite right.
Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me.
And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence. That is a fair and convenient single price, just the way London's carriages should be operated. But that doesn't add up. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy. Why, man, why? 4 passengers paying 4 pence each, if you do the multiplication, it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up, the figure's different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare.
1 person's fare?
Yes. In other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about.
Good gracious!
This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword.
The figures your coachman claims here most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy.
I beg your pardon? Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus. All right then, how do I make this make it so this miserable trial doesn't end, Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire onto the innocent side. Now hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why did you have to go? Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo. This is all very irritating. Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same. We did it, team. All too simple. For the love of Mike, not you as well. A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters. Oh, really? I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Wait, that means 4 jurors are leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've saved the city. Oh, he doesn't look happy over there. What are you playing at, you dandy fools?
Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me.
But we've had a consensus.
I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if that chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head. Please tell me he's a barber. Well, in quite a remarkable turn of events, the defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. Now the jurors stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. He does not look happy. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places, and I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth.
All too simple.
So, Lord Van Zykes, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please.
Oh. Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of the hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zykes!
It's cold in here. Is it cold or is it just me? As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a I thought he was quiet. So I honored a deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove as self-evident truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence, after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Oh, fuck, it's getting serious now. Bring forth the witnesses once more. Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we had just had to endure.
Yes, sir, I did, sir.
Of course I heard it.
Oh, yes, sir, I heard it. You, sir, on the end. The coachman, I believe. It's Beppo?
Yes, sir, my lord, sir.
If it transpires that you, in your previous testimony, were attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind.
Oh, mio Dio, oh...
Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination.
I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear it, Well, I, for one, was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus.
He fiddled us on the ferry, did, and I saw it. Blood-curdling sight as well. I saw too much.
I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes. Counsel, make sense of this for me, please.
The phantom 5th passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cosenge.
Beppo, explain yourself. Oh, I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster.
The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board, you know that.
Am I to understand you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare? It's so cold, and the last run of the day is always half empty. You have been dishonest, coachman.
I'm sorry.
You're a disgrace, Beppo, a disgrace, and your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild. If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence.
Holy shit, you little weasel. What? 4 passengers at 5 pence each. Ah, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already. No, that figures.
Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for defense, your cross-examination, if you please.
We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Absolutely. Alright, so let's do some pressing. So, there were only 4 passengers on your carriage, but you didn't charge them the standard fare. Is that right?
It's impossible to make the last run of the day pay.
Was this guy always doing this? I was so cold. Okay, he's still doing it.
I was so cold, all I could do to stop myself from passing out.
I'm getting chilblains just listening to you.
It was terrible, so I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for even keeping the bus running. Doesn't a dedicated coachman deserve an extra penny per passenger?
He's still doing it. You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a 5th passenger, then we would have had another suspect. Well, I, for one, has told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus. Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4?
Well, I paid 5 pence too, sir.
Just as I told you I did.
Fair 5 pence across the board.
It's not something to be proud of. The so-called discrepancy my learned friend identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed, it's gone, dead and buried. I'd have been happy if it had ever existed in the first place.
He fiddled us on the fair, he did, and I saw it blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
This blood-curdling sight, you mean the murder, I presume?
Yes, sir.
A loathsome sight?
A loathsome sight. No one should have to witness the horror in the man's eyes of a man as his life is taken. Oh, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the gent was stabbed. Good gracious, really?
We have another witness who did, however, the banker already testified. But Mr. First didn't actually see the point at which the victim was killed. This may turn out to be very significant.
I heard the banker gent next to me take a sharp intake of his breath, you see. That's when I looked through the glass. That's when I saw the horrible blade poking out from his belly, all covered in blood. Every time I see the knife now, I can't help screaming, even when I'm eating.
I'll tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. I saw everything I said before stands. No, please go back. I wanted to press. So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilded, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him. That's what I said, isn't it? It was bothering me before, this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there was only the two of them inside the carriage, wasn't there? There's been much talk of a fifth passenger, but as yet, zero evidence. Then what are we wasting his time for, Ed? It's black and white, the man's guilty. Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. I wish I could work out what it was. And then we'll press you as well. Earlier, you testified that you saw the moment the victim allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, yes, that's right.
You said the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice pick grip. I suppose I might have, put the cart before the horse, maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from the seats on the roof deck.
Oh, I expect that was me, sir.
No, he definitely just suddenly went back. Well, I saw it through the skylight? How are you... I don't feel like you could see that from there.
The gentleman was on the floor, and the knife was sticking out from his midriff. Yes, that's right, and the fellow holding the handle was the famous man, yes.
So in short, you didn't see the moment the victim was actually stabbed.
I really thought I did, but when I go over it again in my head, I suppose...
Oh, never mind. Okay, it's way more dramatic than I thought it was going to be.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay?
Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that, eh?
Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? No chance. Well, it's a little hard to believe, certainly. Unless you spend your time peeping through a skylight on top of an omnibus, that is.
Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, you know. And I know what I saw it clear as a Ballarat day. It was a grim scene, I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little under the collar there. I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Did you think I'll forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after the butcher stabbed a man?
So, hold on, he's wearing gloves, though.
Hold it!
Blood-soaked?
Well, perhaps soaked is a little thick on, laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it.
No, you're losing me here, Chief. And you saw that from the roof, through the skylight?
Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had a pretty good view. And there was a lamp on the inside of the car as well. I'm quite sure of what I saw.
The banker's latest statement. Yes, we're gonna present the gloves, I suppose. Yeah, No, no, it's okay. You don't need to fill me in on this. I know, yes. Take me down. Take me all the way over. Present. Gloves. Blood-soaked hands?
Well, I admit soaked might be laying it on a little thick, but... Well, anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it.
Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar.
What?
Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question.
Oh, yes, right.
And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark stain here, but I'm sure you can clearly see. It's only on the right hand. Oh, that's also on the right hand. The way he would have been sitting in the carriage, he would have needed to use his left hand to stab him probably as well. Well, no, I suppose he could have turned around to do it. I was just sort of imagining him reaching over. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent.
Yeah, but no, that can't be right.
So you're the little liar here, then?
Yeah.
That's right, you were quite clear about it. You said,
it was both hands.
Mr. Fairplay, if your statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands, it was only one, but the fact remains, the victim's blood was on the accused. No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw both blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court.
Why, I'm a city banker, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm fine, gentlemen, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate.
He's claiming to have no reason to lie, but is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo, I know it, yes. It could turn the tide completely. There's evidence. My lord.
Yes, counsel?
The defense is ready to present evidence.
By Jove, are you sure?
Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay has reason to lie.
Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence.
Let's hit him with the book.
This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded. Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused extortion. The point is, among the names of these debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay.
What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No. Well, it's barely worthy of being called a debt.
According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say?
Well, what of it?
Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case?
These documents do state the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed would be annulled. They would cease to exist.
Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw, in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant?
Yeah.
Order. Mr. Bruce Fairplay.
Yes, my lord.
Let me ask you again, and be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you, or did you not, see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim?
Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony.
All right, let's not make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch.
A pinch?
But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on McGilded's hands. Both of them.
And yet only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have as evidence, is stained.
So you keep saying.
I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir. Go ahead, Mr. First. Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself as it happens.
Seeing what?
The blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think, yes, I'm almost sure that it was on both his hands, not just one.
What?
It would appear we're going to need to further testimony from all of your witnesses. This time I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear?
Yes.
Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course, yeah. Skipped through too fast. It's okay. We know what's said. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here.
There was blood on both hands of the assailants. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters.
I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attacker's hands with blood on them.
I didn't actually see anything myself, not until I heard the scream.
Anyway, the fact remains there can't be anyone else inside the carriage, or else we would have all seen.
So I want to immediately press on the last one, actually, to try and point out the hidden compartment.
In truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated.
I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside the carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it.
That's really not what testimony is about. Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corresponding to the witnesses' accounts. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case.
Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel.
Yes, my lord.
I wish to press on that last statement. Take me to the last statement.
Come on. Here. Yes.
Hold it!
And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof.
That's right, it was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over.
Oh yes, I remember. I was shivering. It was so bitter.
Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof.
Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin.
Oh, why not?
It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking... Hold on.
Yep, take me in. Let's go. There's no lock. I probably could have just pushed back, to be honest, but, you know. Alright. It was locked?
That's right. It was a public bus service, for pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play.
Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gents inside just gestured me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up onto the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin.
Well, I can assure you I wasn't just looking down. I was glaring, longing-eyed. And that's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else in that cabin, I would have noticed.
Unequivocal, I would say. I'm not sure. Could they really have everything inside the cabin through the skylight? No. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight and the roof of the upper deck. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
In that case, there is a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. Sorry, one moment. I just want to check that I'm not running out of space. Okay, good.
What?
By golly, really?
Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure, but the possibility cannot be denied. At the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh.
Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area right here.
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of travel, whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other, which means the visible part of the cabin, which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight, is as I've drawn here.
Ah!
That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses would not have been completely aware of it.
Ah!
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity.
I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude.
Can you, Mr. Naruhodo? I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Who could have been in the other seat, which was out of sight from the witnesses on the roof deck? I have an inkling. I understand, my lord. The defense would like to put forward a name. You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons not yet learnt.
Let us not delay, counsel. The defense is still to name the passenger.
This could be it. This could be the chance I've been waiting for. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus that was obscured from view was... So, I'll be honest, I'm not sure who I'm gonna name for this one here. It's obviously not fucking Beppo, is it? So, Bruce, I mean, unlikely, I'd say. So, I mean, none of them seem overly likely, though, do they? Who am I going to accuse here? Am I going to accuse Magnus? I have to, don't I? Because the only way we get around this is because they saw someone stab him. So the person that stabbed him was visible. Well, no, they didn't see the moment he got stabbed, though. I'm gonna present McGilded. The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. McGilded? What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant. No, because they didn't see the exact moment of the stabbing, but they're saying they saw... Oh, Jesus, relax. They saw the guy next to him was responsible for it, so that has to not have been McGilded if we're going to get anywhere. If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hallowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zykes?
People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning and culture of their own, but I see they use the terms ill-advisedly. What are you trying to say? Let me explain in terms that even a student of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have attested to the fact. It's the very premise on which this case is built. But that premise may be wrong. What? If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled.
What inconsistency, counsel?
The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claim that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim. Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains. The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance.
Yes, their testimony remains unchanged.
Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on the passenger's hands, both of them. And who was this third party? Obviously, the true culprit.
Extraordinary. Order, order. What exactly are you postulating?
The defense's postulation is just that, nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused. But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. Yes, the tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them, though.
Yes, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir. And what particular styles of hats did the two gentlemen sport? I'm afraid I don't remember.
And you call yourself a hatter? The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger in that cabin.
How can you be sure?
Because if there had been, the accused, Mr. McGilded, would have undoubtedly offered to dispose the fact. Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed to even notice the presence of the true culprit in the cabin in which he traveled. Yes, he hid under the seat. He's right. If there was another passenger traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGilded would have been unaware of it.
Order! There is clearly a simple solution to this problem.
Bring the accused, Mr. McGilded, to the stand.
Well, what say you, counsel?
The prosecution objects, my lord.
On what grounds?
As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police. But what if there was some reason why he's unable to speak freely? Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act.
Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion?
My lord, should we ask him to testify? Yes. Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilded to the stand.
In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury.
Oh, yes, I need a little time to consider.
If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilded has to say.
Get the man out here, I say!
It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony.
When something needs doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild.
Hearing what the patron of my favourite little park has to say? Oh yes, that would be lovely.
Yes, the jury says the man must be heard.
Very well, the court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand.
Now, maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear. Damn, it's still no break. It's been over 2 hours.
Let proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGilded, have you been listening to the discourse of the day?
To be sure I have, my lord.
There are now 2 matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police?
Begad, no, 'tis not in my nature to hide anything at all.
Just answer the questions, please.
The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tell you? Do I tell you all, or just keep my mouth shut?
Tell us what, Mr. McGilded?
The fine fella representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night myself and the other man, there was another passenger.
It's true?
Aye, and 'twas me who helped the little urchin get away after it all happened.
You... what? No, Magnus McGilded. That convenient excuse can't save you now.
I'm truly sorry, so I am, Lord Von Zykes. I tell you, you'd be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken in by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you.
Which was?
Well, the little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and not involved in any way, you see.
What?
If the police had known the wee one was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. They'd have hauled her into the courtroom here, just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord. And who was this young child of whom you speak? That, I don't know.
You don't
know? Aye, well, the wee thing just happened to be in the carriage that night. I never saw her before since.
We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witness's statements to be disregarded by the court.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings.
What? What the fuck? Fire, there's a fire. Someone's trying to get away. It's no use.
I can't see anything.
What is going on? Be careful. Cover your face.
Bailiff?
No, that's it. No, never mind. It's like, bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus.
I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom.
Well, Jesus Christ. We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amidst the scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in their desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that for the time being, the trial was suspended. Well, that's not how I expected the ad break to come, but I guess I did ask for one.